so let's move on now to the cylinders. Cylinders are a useful representation of stems, also veins on leaves, and the same sort of thing applies. Depending on which way the cylinder is tilting towards you, you will either see into the top, in which case you get a shadow on the left hand side, so you get a shadow in here, which goes sort of halfway across, and then as the light is hitting that area there, that creates a highlight. Down the edge of the cylinder you're going to get a slightly lighter area. This is reflected light. And then you're going to have a similar light area over on the left hand side just before you hit real highlight, and then you're going to get darker shadow area over here next to the highlight, and you usually get a little bit of a sort of shape down here. Can just blend that in to make it a bit smoother, and then of course you get the darkest shadow area just down here. So you can break this down into these 4 tones again: darkest shadow, middle shadow, light shadow, highlight, and there you have a reasonably, in a few strokes, a reasonably 3-dimensional looking cylinder. For that one I might just darken up that area just a tiny bit, just so that you can see that more clearly. What happens about making it look hollow? Well, if it's hollow, then you get light reflecting in here, but if it is solid, you wouldn't have any light at all when the surface is pointing away from the light. So the light for this one here, the light is hitting the object in this direction. This area here is entirely in shade, so that will be in shadow. This one, the top of the cylinder, now let's assume this is solid again, the top of the cylinder is in the light, so it will be catching a highlight, so if any colour at all, it would be very, very pale. And if we just add the basic shade patterns on these cylinders like we have done before, and the more times you do this, the more it becomes instinctive. So you've got a light area down the left hand side where the light is hitting it before you go into true highlight. And you have reflected light down the left hand side. You have shadow, also, sorry I said left there when I meant right, shadow down the right hand side, or the shadow side, coming into a bit of a curve at the bottom. Leave the highlight clean, or if you're painting or working graphite, go over that very pale and put in your deepest shadow over here. So that is really just going around and leaving the reflected light. And that one looks different to this one. That one looks like it's hollow, that one looks like it's solid. And we could do the same for the cylinder on its side. Let's do that, because that is interesting, and you often get branches and stems on almost a horizontal. So with this one, you're going to get a real sort of highlight near the top, and you're going to get a little bit of reflected light down here, and then you're going to have your darker area coming in along there. Keep that highlight pale, and then just to show the shape, we've got the strongest shadow, which goes under the curve. Leave a little bit for reflected light, but just with a few strokes, you can demonstrate how the light is catching.